Episode 222. Self-study is the best form of education.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
Hello, Tuesday. Hello, listeners of the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Why did I choose this title for this episode? Honestly, until a moment ago, I have no fucking clue. Simply because self-study has been a significant part of my life, and I came across this quote or meme or whatever that kind of went along those lines and said, hey, self-study is the best form of education. And I found this to be true because for a variety of factors. But let's get into housekeeping first of all. So item number 1, views my own, and item number 2, sharing is caring. Share this episode and all of the other 221 plus bonus episodes widely there, because there's just as was proven yesterday, a very high likelihood of people actually participating from these random ramblings that I put out every day. And I never thought that would happen, but I've repeatedly now gotten feedback over the past almost year now, where people said, look, I came across this because a friend shared it, and it was totally valuable, changed my life for the better. And so, yeah, there we go. Why this episode, though? Well, most of my life has consisted of self-study, and most of what I learned in school, I have forgotten, period. There's, I think, no better way to say it. The stuff that I learned in school, yeah, of course, teaches you to connect the dots and everything. But at the end of the day, what it boils down to is that you're just regurgitating stuff that gets fed into your brain. Only in rare and very good schools do you actually learn how to learn properly and how to understand and how to think, most importantly. And that's, something which in the education system has become a thing of the past. And there's a great guy named Ken Robinson, who you might want to look up, who sheds an interesting light on the modern schooling system, how it works, and why for the modern times it's actually rather difficult to learn by those methods, and why they are not timely anymore, because the world has changed since public / private schooling has been invented. I think that's the most apt term to describe it. So for me, it all started out when I got my first computer at age, 11, something like that. I said, I was a military brat, so for me, I wanted to become a fighter pilot because it was the time of Top Gun and, that kind of ordeal. So I wanted to make a catalog / database of military aircraft. And something very interesting happened. I sat down, asked my dad, hey, look, I need to make this database. And he was like, well, yeah, then program it. Good luck. And so a journey began where I set out and, picked up books and books and books on programming languages that were, interesting and up to date at the time. Some of them, in fact, are still today, but they've been weeded out. New ones have replaced them, and they're more modern and more shiny, and they can do more interesting crap and whatever. But that was my first excursion into the world of self-study, because honestly, there was nobody that could really teach me anything viable, right? It was all theoretic, and I wanted to do something very specific. So I had to wrap my head around not only the programming language itself, but the program structure that I wanted to create, and in the way that I wanted to create it, and so on and so forth. So, a lot of very interesting stuff happened along the 30 or so years that followed. It was like a challenge that I was confronted with, and I had to find a solution for. And that's actually where self-study really starts to manifest itself. So one example was, I started my vocational training, and the organization that I worked for had blocked access to my personal email account. Which was disastrous because I used that, day in, day out. This was pre-BlackBerry even. And I needed to use their, computers, the crappy hardware that they had to access my emails throughout the day. So I actually ended up having an email server at home that would pick up my emails from my more or less public email service, and I, programmed and integrated front end so that I could access my mails, and the server would pick it up, and I would be notified, and all that good stuff. And that kind of led me down the route of learning to program web pages or create web pages with the graphical aspects and figuring all that bit out. And then, everything kind of fell into place, plus a lot of stuff that happened in between, which we're not going to go into. However, how do you actually start to self-study, and why would you want to? Well, number one, if you are, bored at school, right? You go there, you meet with friends. That's what the whole concept was for me. You talk shit with your friends, and then you go home and you reluctantly do your homework, if at all. I usually used to do it on the bus in the morning, just copy, paste in a handwritten sense from friends that were sitting on the bus also, who were more diligent in doing the homework. Then you kind of studied for the tests that were coming, and boom, eventually you got your diploma and you were done with that crap house. And that's actually what it was for me. I could never really get excited about going to school, except for, the social aspects of it. And throughout the years, I really started to see that the stuff that I would learn at my own, and to be honest, very fast pace, wasn't making, and the way I learned wasn't making sense to my teachers. They would always pull their hair and say, God damn it, why are you not capable of taking this material in? And, my parents took me to shrinks and, kids shrinks and Looney Tune doctors, to figure out what was wrong with me, because obviously I was quite the clever cookie, but, I couldn't apply it in school. The fact was, though, that I didn't really want to. Right. And so for me, self-study was the only way of getting an education, which, served me pretty well. In a fact that, even now, when I go on contracts, or until up a few years ago, I would have all of these, graduates of pristine schools and whatever not. But they couldn't think. They could regurgitate and they could give you facts and figures and whatnot, but they couldn't think and wrap their head around a problem and actually produce a viable solution. And that's something that, for my understanding, never having visited, I have to say this, take it, what I'm saying, with a grain of salt, never seen a university from the inside. But from what I have gotten from the output of the people that go there, I'm kind of disappointed, to be perfectly honest, because I've come across very few people who were, subject to this kind of education, who were actually capable of figuring out very complex situations under pressure, most importantly, and deliver solutions that were, convincing. Let's put it that way. So, well, how do you get to self-study? Well, I can only tell you how it was for me. I think there is no way that you're going to have to, that you're going to go the path or walk the path that I did, right? That's just not going to happen. So for you, what's the motivation of studying for yourself? Perhaps you want to do something that isn't in the curriculum. right? That's for a lot of people the entry to self-study, right? You go out, you watch YouTube videos. Nowadays, back in my time, it was books and books and books that you had to read, and web forums and whatever not, mailing lists. Those are a thing of the past that were very interesting. But that's, kind of like the ordeal that you have to go through. You have to confront yourself with a problem that isn't going to be mentioned anywhere in any curriculum. And finding a solution for that is going to be the trigger to get you actually started on the route of self-study. And you will see that it is much more fulfilling than all of the stuff that you learn in school, at least for what I'm concerned. Again, I'm not going to demonize schools, because for a lot of people, they're insanely valuable. Get the education, get the job, and there you go. Get the MBA, the mega bank account, and, they're good. But that was for me never an option, because, I wasn't really interested in what the school had to tell me. I had, other interests that I needed to feed and fulfill. And that's how I went down the route of self-study. And I think, for you, like I said, it's going to be a path of interest that's going to lead you there. So I hope I was able to clarify that, and wish you a good rest of your Tuesday. It's still a bit of construction site here. So I got to get back to work. I'm happy that the dog didn't eat any handy men or women, whatever. And we're going to be back in touch tomorrow when we're going to be talking about a topic that I still have to pull out of my ass. So stay tuned. Have a good night if you've had your good Tuesday already. Otherwise, have a good Tuesday. Leave your hands above the blanket. We'll be in touch tomorrow, live from the construction site, ongoing. See you there, and stay safe, folks. Bye now.